So a lot of people have been asking for the last 3 months
Probably.
For a boat tour. So 3 months later, we figure we'd try and get around to it. So we're going to try and give a little tour of Skookum V.
Here goes. Okay, this is the stern of the boat. So this is kind of typically where we get on and off when we're at anchor. The steps are obviously down in the water. And when we launch the dinghy on and off to go to shore, we'll come right up to the stern and get the kids off the side of the dinghy onto the back. So it's kind of safe and stable. We've also got the davits system here, which we can't show you in action today because we're in the marina. But essentially, the dinghy sits underneath the two arms, and then we attach it and winch it up. So it's actually really convenient. It's kind of a theft deterrent because the dinghy is up out of the water, secured at nights, so we don't have to think too much about that, which is really nice. And also it's just really convenient when we're moving from anchorage to anchorage. We don't have to tow the dinghy in the water. Okay, so then we move into the cockpit. So we've got kind of a curved settee on this side with the table, and we eat a lot of meals out here, especially as the weather's been getting warmer for us. We've been spending more and more time here. We've got a bench seat here, and then under both of these is storage. So for example, very much like an RV or a caravan, pretty much every space that you can find on a boat, it has something underneath it. So in this one, it's our propane locker, our little generator. So we've got a small 2,000 watt generator if we need to generate AC electricity, and some various bits and pieces. And then under this seat, which I'll not open, is actually our life raft. So we have a life raft in there that we can deploy in the event of emergency. And then up top is our helm station. So it's kind of up 3 steps. So you're like halfway up in terms of elevation. You've still got the bimini above you. This does slide open, but if it was a wet day, for example, you don't have to have the roof open. You can still see, you've got good visibility over the top of the cabin, and you've also got visibility up to the sails if the sails are deployed.
And thankfully you and I are short enough that we can stand under.
Yeah, short asses can stand under this. Tall people, not so much. We've a GPS chart plotter, depth sounder, auto helm, all kind of controlled centrally with our compass. And then in a catamaran, you've got 2 motors, 2 diesel engines. So the sort of switch controls and warning lights and stuff are here, and the throttles are here. And then when the boat's sailing, we haven't unfortunately had a lot of opportunity to sail yet, but that's going to get better really soon. The majority of the sail controls comes back to these 2 primary winches here. So most of what we can do in terms of sail trim and steering the boat can be done without even leaving the cockpit, with the exception of hoisting the main sail.
So the other thing that you'll find in the cockpit are little bits, our attachment points and our safety features for the girls. So their life jackets and their harnesses and their tethers, and we've created a rule that when we are underway or when the boat's moving, they have to be wearing their life jacket or their harness, and they have to be attached to somewhere. So we have little attachment points like down here, or we attach them to the bench or under the table. That's as long as they're out here on the boat. Once they're inside, then they're okay. If we're at the dock, then what we've told them is that if they're anywhere outside of this gate, they have to wear their life jackets. Plus, we have our fancy shoe storage. Turns out we don't really wear shoes very much around here unless we're going to town, so doesn't get used that much. The other thing, a bunch of vegans sailing on a boat have an awful large amount of fishing rods. Those came with the boat, so we're learning our way around them, figuring out what to do with them. And the other thing I was going to point out is hidden under this big blue blob, and it's our barbecue. So we have a barbecue on the back as well, which is a nice way to cook things up from time to time. Yeah. Come on in. So one of the nice features about the catamaran that we love is just that our living area is very open and we can go in and out very easily. Plus we have this access to the galley, so everything's bright and I guess open as well. Ellie is currently happily occupied, sitting in our fancy salon. So this is our other dinner table where we spend the other half of our time. So this might give you an idea of just how big our kitchen, which is called a galley on a boat, just how big our galley is on this boat. As you can see, I can basically touch all the sides standing in one spot. But it works great. It works really well for us. It has everything we need. We have a double sink. All of our glasses and drinkware, my cooking oils and different things are up here. Down here is the most important thing on the boat is our coffee, but we have a bunch of storage down there as well. Very cool and handy is an opening to our garbage can from the counter. I wish I had one of those at home. All of our plates and bowls and everything that we need down there. Pots and pans and cooking things are underneath the oven. So this is a Force 10 oven, and it's done by gas. And I'm learning how to cook better with gas than I did with electric heat, so it's quite interesting. But you can see that it is quite small, so I'm learning what fits in there and what doesn't fit in there. It's also dirty right now. We also have a really nice area on the other side of the stove. We're still trying to figure out how to use this best, but we've got our liquor cabinet, our most important Vitamix, our pressure cooker, some herbs. I'm learning how to grow a green onion. This is where I keep some of the different things I cook with, my onion shelf, and just storage of different food. So it's a nice amount of storage close at hand as well. And then down here, I've got all of our spices and the other things that I cook with are tucked away in here. There's actually a load of room. It's easy to get to. All of our cutlery and cooking utensils, Ziploc bags, storage things, that sort of stuff is all in there. So everything's really close at hand, and I've got everything I need. So there's also more storage, which is great, underneath what we call the settee, the couch, if you want to call it that. Underneath here, you can see we've got lots of bins with different things stored away in there, but also our parts of our water maker and our air conditioning system are sort of behind the settee as well. There's another storage area on the other side of the settee, on the other side of Ellie. I won't bother opening that up now, but there's a lot of storage for food and cooking stuff really close at hand. The trickiest thing on a boat, though, is refrigeration and your freezer. So this is where we keep all of our frozen and fresh stuff. This side is the freezer, and it's decently full right now. Yes, we're storing our beer in it because it's not actually that cold in the freezer right now. And then our fridge, which is pretty packed as well right now. But it's a decent amount of space. It's definitely nothing compared to what you get with a residential size fridge. So we just have to be thoughtful about how we pack it, how we store things, how much we buy, how much we're going to go through, and how long we're going to be out. So there's that.
So the nav station is very much the control hub of the electrical side of the boat. So we've got an AC distribution panel for either when our generator is plugged in or at a dock where we are right now, we're plugged into their electricity supply. So that kind of controls our AC panel. We've got our water heater and battery charger running at the minute, and we've also tested our air conditioning on both sides. We're not running it right now, but in the middle of the summer when we're at a dock, I can absolutely imagine wanting that. And then we get to control the port and starboard side outlets in the boat, and they will run either off an AC source, like an external source, like the generator or the dock, but they'll also run off our inverter. So our battery bank has an inverter attached that'll convert 12 volt DC to 110 volt AC, so that we can charge our computers and run other appliances and stuff from that. And then this is our DC panel.
Don't worry, I still don't understand most of that. I'm still figuring my way around it, so don't worry.
And this is our DC panel, so this is our like 12 volt panel. So, you know, key things like our fresh water pump that pressurizes our water system, and our shower pump, which is the external, like the bilge pump that pumps the shower out overboard. Our gas valve, so the gas stove is controlled, the valve is controlled on and off electronically so that you don't accidentally leave a valve open and have a leak. The radios here, our toilets on the cat are electric, which is quite fancy. Well, it feels fancy. And then when we go sailing, you know, typically our chart plotter, our instruments, our autopilot, our VHF all come on. So this is, this is our 12 volt and our AC panel. And then we've got a VHF, so that's our ship-to-ship communication, and also how we communicate with marinas, for example, when we're pulling in. That's just a stereo. That's our battery monitor. So it's a Victron system, which I really like, which gives us sort of visibility into the state of charge of our batteries and how we're doing. It helps us understand whether our solar panels and wind generator are actually putting out significant current, like putting charging current back into the batteries. So yeah, and then a TV, which, you know, take it or leave it. It's here for now. I'm not sure it's going to stay. This is theoretically like the chart table for actually reading navigational charts, but in reality these days, most of what we do is electronics. So we actually have a Raspberry Pi, so a little microcomputer, which is connected into our boat network through a NEMA 2000 connection. So we actually have through that we can use computerized charts here as a backup to our chart plotter upstairs.
And reality is that becomes our junk drawer. And so this is the rest of our living space. We have the two hulls of the catamaran. So when you see a catamaran, you see the two separate pieces, which are the hulls. Most of our living spaces in the middle between the two, and then our bedrooms and our bathrooms, what we call the cabins and the heads, are on either side. So this is Stu and I's space here, and this is known as an owner's version of a catamaran, which means that it has 3 cabins, not 4, because one side can be completely locked off for the owners of the boat. So this is our cabin, or our bedroom. It's almost, I would say it's effectively a queen size bed. It's quite comfortable. We spent the first month and a half lying the other direction with our heads at the other end, and I woke up congested every single morning and then realized that my head was below my feet. So it made a lot more sense to switch our heads around, even though it's a little more awkward to get in and out when we're lying this direction, but it works fine. You can see we have portholes and hatches, so we've got lots of airflow in here when we want it. I can spy at the neighbors out the window. Under the bed is also storage, which is really handy. So one of our 2 diesel tanks for our engines is on our side, as well as our hot water heater for this side of the boat. And then there's a separate locker underneath as well, and we have a lot of extra food storage in there, and that's all our sort of extra spare food, our medical supplies, extra storage basically. In terms of clothing, we didn't bring a lot to begin with, but we've got actually a lot of storage for clothing compared to what Stu and I are used to on smaller monohulls. This is our random extra, actually pajamas and warm clothes locker. This is our main, let's say, hanging clothes locker. So we have both of our hanging clothes, as well as all of Stu's t-shirts, all of your underwear, all of my underwear, all of my socks and bras and everything. So a fair amount fit into here, and we've still got loads of space in there. This is where we store, what do we got? All of our shorts and pants and t-shirts and long sleeve shirts and everything else, basically. All the rest of our clothes are in there. There's actually a lot of space in there. I don't know about Stu, but I think I've worn about 1/10 of what I brought so far. Doesn't hurt when you get to wear a bathing suit most days too.
So this part of the boat in the middle, kind of almost on the center line, front to back, in the owner's version is like a little sort of office desk setup. So we've got just some storage cupboards that essentially we keep boat documentation in, user manuals, warranty stuff.
None of the important stuff that anyone needs to steal, though.
No, nothing that anybody would want to steal in this cupboard.
That gets hidden away.
And then this is again designed as a chart table. Some of the versions had a swivel out chair below, or stool rather, that just swung out. And we're actually going to try and get one manufactured and installed, because this would be a really helpful little sort of workspace or just writing space or whatever. We've also got 2 of our main communication forms. So this is our ham radio. So that's like an HF radio that we can use to access weather or communicate with the Coast Guard in emergency if we need to. But there's also cruising nets at specific times, 6 days a week normally, that we can join in and sort of meet other boaters, or some of them are safety nets where you literally just check in every day and say, this is my location and there's X number of people on board and we're safe, or whatever. So that's, in a way, that's like old school technology, sort of like the old school cruising, sailing lifestyle would have very much relied on ham radio. And this is very much new school. It's our Iridium. So this is actually a satellite modem that creates its own wireless network. So we can attach our smartphones to the Iridium. We can download email, weather. We can make phone calls. We've only used it. Well, I used it once for a phone call to a manufacturer because I had a problem with a component with our wind generator, and we phoned my parents once because we had been out of contact for a while, for like several weeks or a couple of weeks or something, and we just thought we'd check in with them. But yeah, basically, while we're away from cellular reception, the Iridium is our primary communication tool, which is really helpful. Very much like in the bedroom, everywhere you look, essentially there's storage, and it's normally a funny shape. So the hull on the outside here curves in towards us and steps down, so these shelves get progressively shallower as you go down through. And then if you follow me forward, we have our head, the primary owner's head on this side. So this is the owner's head. This shower literally is bigger than our shower in Whistler that we left. So we really like it. The water pressure is weirdly slightly better on the port side, which I think is to do with the water heater being slightly different. But essentially it's a really spacious shower, sink and toilet on this side, and then on the girls' side, on the port side, it's a smaller head because there's a cabin in this part of the boat. The head's in the middle of the boat. And then we have storage up ahead. It's pretty jammed tight right now, actually. But this goes all the way to the bow, so it's kind of a triangular shape, and it's probably 4 feet tall by 2.5 or 3 feet wide at this end, and it tapers to a point. So it's actually pretty useful storage, and we've been able to store all sorts of things. Our inflatable paddle boards are in there right now. A dive tank, a scuba tank, and some comfy chairs to sit up in the foredeck whenever the weather gets a little bit warmer.
So this is the other side of the catamaran, and this is the kids' side of the catamaran. One of the joys of having a boat this size is that we actually get a separate compartment from the kids, which is really nice. We've proudly hung a lovely gift that I got from the Whistler Community Services for being on the board there. So thanks for that decoration for our boat. So on one side of the boat is our guest cabin. This is where anybody who wants to come visit, come stay. And also effectively our other junk drawer, much bigger version of it. So all of the extras kind of end up in this cabin that don't fit anywhere else, or that we want to access quickly. So right now our snorkel gear's there, extra towels, your fishing stuff, our paddle board, paddles, extra pillows. And then we've got more storage just like in our cabin behind Stu here and underneath, which we haven't really utilized yet. So we're still figuring that part out because we haven't needed it, thankfully. Similar to our cabin, there is a diesel tank and hot water heater for this side of the boat in underneath the bed here, and then mostly tool storage and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, both parts.
Yeah, exactly. The other head, the door is closed because Lily is sleeping right now, but we'll catch that shortly once she's awake. The other head, which is the kids' head. Oh, Panda's taking a shower. Again, a nice big size shower here, which is the one that we actually tend to use because it has the better water pressure. And behind the door is the other toilet. So it's a nice good size bathroom, if you want to call it that. That's here for the girls.
So then we'll go forward on the boat. So the amazing thing about a cat really is just how much storage there is up front. So this hatch is the head, like that's over our owner's side head. I had a couple of guys here helping me earlier and I didn't clean up. But essentially we've got 2 huge water tanks, well huge, 100 gallon each I think, 100 gallons each? 80 gallons each. So 2 80-gallon water tanks are up here, loads of storage for, you know, buoys and lockers and buoys and ropes in the locker, some cleaning products, and then we store jerry cans full of extra diesel and petrol or gas for our outboard. Our dinghy runs on gas and our generator runs on gas. So yeah, so the lazarettes are really good storage for that. The kids love the trampolines, so we spend a lot of time. It's pretty windy. I hope my little mic sock is handling it. We spend a lot of time on the trampoline, or just up front when we're on anchor. The kids love putting their life jackets on and coming up and playing around, which is really good. All our mainsail primary controls. Our mainsail primary controls are on the mast, so there's the main halyard winch. So when we're raising the mainsail, we have to come forward to get the sail up or down, and then we control it, trim it from the cockpit. And then our genoa these are the sheets for the genoa, so they control the forward sail, but they go back to the cockpit. And then up top we have 3 solar panels, soon to become 7, we think, and a wind generator, and some antennas like the iridium antenna for our satellite modems up there. Yeah, but basically on a cat, loads of space. Essential, this is like one essential item for a windy day. Come on, wind, don't let me down. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ours on it. This is just for me. It's not for the kids. Yeah, and our anchor's here. So it's a slightly different deployment on a cat than on a monohull in a way, because you're deploying the anchor from so far back from the bow. So we actually deploy the anchor underneath the trampoline. Yeah, we've got an electric windlass here. So in an emergency, we can pull and release our anchor manually. But in reality, you hope you never have to do that. So the windlass is just controlled by a little remote, and we can play it up or down. And then we have a bridle. So the bridle is attaches to the chain here. So basically, we attach that to the chain at the right length, and then that bridle, if you come forward, attaches to the hulls. So essentially, there's an attachment point on this side and on the other side, and so the chain is feeding back to both hulls. So it means the load on the boat is kind of distributed. The forward sail's on a roller furler, so that's simply all it means is the sail rolls up onto the forestay. Instead of us taking it down, the other way to do a sail change is to drop the sail, or the other way to put a sail away is to drop the sail, take it off the forestay, and fold it up, put it away. So most cruising boats have a roller furler because it's just way easier to deal with, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, so that's the boat tour. Let us know if anybody watches this, whether you have any questions about anything you saw, or you want us to go over anything in more detail, or you want us to smile more, because we're very serious about our boat tour.
It's a serious tour. This is, I mean, nobody's ever seen a Leopard 40 before. Right?
Anyway, we miss everybody at home, and hope you're all doing well.
Totally. See you soon.